So this is the summary of the poem Odd Intimations of Immortality from Recollections of Early Childhood, which was written by William Wordsworth. So these are some of the important points about this poem. That this ode is a lyric poem which was written by the poet during 1802 to 1806 and got published in poems in two volumes in 1807. This is a Pindaric ode. This is one of the most famous poems of Wordsworth. So you can say this is the most famous philosophical poem of Wordsworth. This poem is similar to Coleridge's conversational poem, Dissection and Ode. In this poem, the poet is lamenting the loss of the heavenly beauty he could see in nature when he was a child. In this poem, the poet is influenced by Plato's idea that children remember the glories of heaven when they are born, and this world is the world of appearances. In this poem, the poet glorifies childhood. In the beginning of the poem, poet uses an epigraph which is taken from his other poem, My Heart Leaps Up. Here, poet says that the real abode of soul is heaven. So, this is the epigraph which is used by Wordsworth in this poem, and here he says, and this epigraph is taken from his another poem, My Heart Leaps Up. Here he says that child is superior to man in the appreciation of beauty, in appreciation of the beauty of nature, and he says that he wants to spend his life in devotion to nature. Now come to the next lines. Now he says, actually now he's lamenting the loss of his childhood because when he was a child, you know, the green landscape, the trees and the rivers, the earth, and every ordinary sight appeared to him clothed in a divine light. So when he was a child, everything seemed to be divine to him. Okay, and which is like a overwhelming beauty and the freshness of a dream. Glory is the overwhelming beauty and the freshness of a dream, and that experience was a like the freshness of a dream. It is not now as it had been of yore. Now he says the situation is not as it was before. He is not in the same state as he was in his childhood. So he has lost that heavenly glory, that divine light, okay, that heavenly vision which he had when he was a child. So wherever he goes by night and day, the things which I have seen, I now can see no more. Now he says the things which he could see when he was a child, he can no longer see at present. Now he says, and now he's talking about various beautiful objects of nature. He says that rainbow comes and goes, and lovely is the rose. So rainbow appears and fades away, and rose is as beautiful and lovely as it was before. Moonlight, moon is also looking beautiful in the sky. Heavens are bare. What does it mean? That in the cloudless sky, so there are no clouds. Heavens are bare, bare that there are no clouds in the sky, and moon looks very beautiful and happy. Waters on a starry night are beautiful and fair. So, the reflection of the stars in the water of rivers and streams look beautiful and fair. The sunshine is the birth of a new day, but yet I know wherever I go that there hath passed away a glory from the earth. Now he says that he still observes all objects of nature, but the kind of excitement and passion that he had for nature in his childhood is no longer there, and he had lost that heavenly glory which he had when he was a child. So that heavenly glory has passed away from this earth. Now come to the next line. Now he says, while the birds thus sing a joy song. So this is the spring season, and all creatures of nature are enjoying, are indulged in festive occasion. And while the young lambs bound, so young lambs are jumping as if they are dancing on the beatings of the drum, tabor sound beatings of the drum. To me alone there came a thought of grief. And now he says that all objects of nature are indulged in excessive joy. They are enjoying the beauty of the spring season, but uh, you know, he is feeling a kind of grief and disappointment. But now he says, a timely utterance gave that thought relief, and again I am strong. So what does it mean? Now he says that, but he has went out his feelings of disappointment, and now he is feeling strong. So by expressing his feelings of disappointment, Now he feels strong again. Come to the next lines. Now he says, the cataracts blow their trumpets from the steep. What does it mean? That the waterfalls are creating a beautiful sound when they are falling down from inclined mountains. No more shall grief of mine the season wrong. Now he says that I don't want to harm this season. I don't want to harm this season by feeling, upset and disappointed. I hear the echoes through the mountains strong. Now he says that he is hearing the echoes of, echoes created by the waterfall and the other objects of nature, the birds. So he is hearing these echoes in the through the mountains. The winds come to me from the fields of sleep. What does it mean? That the wind, the soft wind which is coming from the fields is making him sleep. Okay, fields of sleep is making him sleep, and all the earth is gay, all the earth is happy and is indulged in excessive joy because of the spring season. Okay, land and sea give themselves up to jollity. So all objects of nature are indulged in joy and happiness and this festive occasion. And with the heart of May and this, with the spring season, doth every beast keep holiday. It seems as if all objects of nature are have taken holiday and are enjoying the beauty of the season. Now he is referring to a shepherd boy. So he has presented the picture of countryside, and now he is addressing a shepherd boy. And he says, thou child of joy, shout round me, let me hear thy shouts. Now he asked this child to play around him so that he can be happy in his happiness. Okay, thou happy shepherd boy. Come to the next lines. Now he says, ye blessed creatures, I have heard the call, ye to each other make. Now he says that all of these creatures who are enjoying the beauty of the season are blessed. Okay, are blessed. And Wordsworth can see the way, they are enjoying, and they are, they are creating sound, beautiful sounds. I see the heavens laugh with you in your jubilee. Now he says that even heaven is happy to see you in this festive mood. My heart is at your festival. Now he says that I am here at your service. Okay, and my head has the crown of flowers. Okay, the fullness of your bliss. Now he says that he wants to participate in this festive season in which all objects of nature are involved, and he wants to share the bliss which these creatures are enjoying. So I feel it all. Now poet says that he can feel the bliss which these creatures are feeling right away. Now come to the next lines. Now he says, oh evil day, if I were sullen, which while earth herself is adorning. Now he says that this would be an evil day if I would be sad when the entire earth is, uh, you know, is getting decorated because of the blooming of so many flowers during the spring season. So this sweet May morning, and the children are plucking. Culling means plucking flowers from the valleys far and wide. Fresh flowers are there everywhere while the sun shines warm. Okay, and the baby leaps up on his mother's arm. So the sun is shining. Okay, children are plucking flowers from the valleys, and baby is jumping in his mother's arm. So when Wordsworth is talking about this baby, he has Hartley Coleridge in his mind, who was the son of S.T. Coleridge. Okay, so I hear with joy, I hear. So he's observing the festivity of the season, and he is happy to see that. Come to the next line. And there is a tree of many one, a single field which I have looked upon. Both of them speak of something that is gone. Now he's looking at the tree and the field, and he feels that something is gone. Okay, the passion, the excitement, the energy that he could feel when he was a child is gone. Okay, is has disappeared. The pansy at my feet. Now he says that pansy is a kind of flower which he finds at his feet. Okay, And then he says, does the same tale repeat? So this tree repeats the same tale, that the heavenly vision is gone, and the glory, the overwhelming beauty, the dream, which was a dream-like experience, is now gone, is no longer there. So the heavenly beauty, the heavenly glory, which he possessed when he was a child, and he was happy and he was spontaneous and carefree, that feeling is now gone. Come to the next line. Now he says that our birth is but a sleep and forgetting. So Wordsworth is of the view that when child is born, he still remembers, uh, you know, he still remembers about his real abode, which is heaven. So he remembers the glimpses of heaven, and with those glimpses of heaven, he is blessed with the heavenly power. Okay, and when he grows up, he keeps getting away from that heavenly glory, and he gets involved in this material world and forgets that heavenly glory completely. Okay, so this the same idea is being talked about in these lines. Now he says that we take birth and we sleep and we keep forgetting things. Okay, we become forgetful about things. The soul, which is the driving force of our life. So here in these lines you see that Wordsworth is influenced by Plato's idea that the real abode, the real home of soul is heaven and not this world. Okay, so the same thing is being repeated by Wordsworth. The soul that rises with us, our soul, which is the driving source of our life, which is the driving force of our life, has its setting elsewhere, where in heaven, and cometh from afar, not in entire forgetfulness. So when we are born, our soul doesn't come deprived of the previous knowledge of heaven. Okay, and not in utter nakedness, means our soul doesn't come completely ignorant of the heavenly glory from where the soul has come, but following clouds of glory do we come from God. So when our soul takes birth, what happens? It is followed by the heavenly glory. Okay, which our soul carries from God, and which is our real home. So this earth is a temporary place and our real home is heaven. So heaven lies about us in our infancy. So heaven lies with us when we are when we are children. Okay, in our childhood, heaven lies with us. We remember the memory of heaven and our real home. Come to the next line. Now he says that shades of the prison house begin to close. Now he calls this earth to be a prison house. Okay, this earth is like a prison to our soul. Okay, and when the child grows up, he beholds the light, and once it flows, he sees it in his joy. So when slowly and slowly the child grows up, and and the beauty and the glory, the heavenly beauty, the celestial beauty, and the divine light which he possessed, from God, keeps fading the way he grows up. The way he becomes more involved in this material world, the more he gets away from this heavenly glory. So child is happy because he has this light, this divine light. So he is happy. The youth who daily farther from the east. So growing boy possesses the heavenly beauty, heavenly glory. But when he becomes young, what happens? Uh, you know, he keeps on getting more and more away from that heavenly glory. Must travel still is nature's priest, and by the visions planted is in or is on his way attended. At length, the man perceives it die away. So he just has the glimpses of that beautiful heavenly glory with him, and the more when he becomes a man, he completely forgets that heavenly glory, and he gets involved in the ordinary occupations on this earth. Come to the next lines. Now he says that earth is like our foster mother. Earth is like the foster mother to our soul, because our real mother is heaven. Okay, and Earth is like the foster mother. The way, foster mother takes care of the child who has lost his mother, similarly earth takes care of us. So earth has its own pleasures and desires to offer us. Okay, yearnings means desires. She hath in her own natural kind, and even with something of a mother's mind. So earth makes us forget our real home, which is heaven. And no unworthy aim, the homely nurse doth all she can. Homely nurse, because uh, you know, earth takes care of us like a foster mother. Okay, to make her foster child, her inmate man, forget the glories he has known. And the more this person becomes busy in the hustle and bustle of this life, the more he forgets the glory of the heaven which he possessed when he was born. So that heavenly place, okay, from where he had come, he completely forgets that, and he gets involved in the activities, which are done on the earth. Come to the next lines. Now he says, now he's again observing the child, okay, and the child is playing with the toys, arranging them in different manner, and he is imitating life, various activities of life. And Wordsworth is surprised to see, because Wordsworth feels bad that this child who is blessed with the heavenly glory is so excited and impatient to grow up, okay, or to imitate this world, that he doesn't know that he is soon going to get deprived of the heavenly glory which he is possessing. So now he says, behold the child among his newborn blisses. What kind of blisses this child is enjoying? He is a 6 year old, okay, 6 year old child, and he is short in size, okay, pygmy size, short in size, and he's arranging his toys and he's imitating various activities which are done on earth. So he's feeling happy. Fretted means he is feeling overwhelmed, happy by the tender touches of his mother's kisses. Sally's tender touches of his mother's kisses, and his father is also looking at him lovingly, okay, with affection. See at his feet some little plan or chart. So he is playing with his toys, some fragments from his dream of human life. So, a child, thinks that this world is not real, and he tries to understand this world, and this world seems illusory to him. Again, the Platonic idea. So, he's trying to understand this world, which is like a dream to him. Okay, because a child doubts the reality of the things around him, so shaped by himself with newly learned art. Okay, so now he's playing with toys, and he's trying to understand this world, and this newly learned art, through this newly learned art, he is trying to imitate things which he is observing around him. And what are these activities which he has observed, like a wedding or a festival or a mourning or a funeral? And this now he's hurt, and onto this he frames his song. Then he fit his tongue to dialogues of his. Sometimes he sings songs, sometimes he speaks about the dialogues of business, love, and quarrel. And then, but he doesn't act any episode for a long time. Okay, he keeps on shifting his role from one activity to another, okay, with new joy and pride. Okay, so he keeps shifting from one role to another. Now, Wordsworth calls this child as a little actor who is playing other part, okay, who is playing other roles. Come to the next lines. Okay, filling from time to time his humorous stage, it seems as if he has arranged a kind of stage on which he's representing all activities which are done on this earth. Okay, and he's imitating all kinds of persons belonging to all kinds of ages, all ages, like persons and the old people suffering from past disease. Okay, so life brings about its own kind of training. So life trains us. What we are doing on this earth, we are also doing the same things. We are also imitating the different kind of roles which we have to play in our daily lives. So life brings about its own kind of training, and it seems as if you know when he observes the child, he seems as if his entire work is to imitate endlessly. So he's deriving pleasure, you know, out of this endless imitation. It seems as if his entire work, his whole work, is to imitate the activities which are performed on this earth endlessly, and is not feeling tired and keeps on imitating and acting different parts. Come to the next lines. Now poet says that thou whose exterior semblance doth belie thy soul's immensity. Now he says that although child looks small, when you will look at him or his exterior or his body, you will find that he is small, but his soul is immense. His soul is powerful. Okay, his soul is powerful. Thou best philosopher. Now he calls the child as the best philosopher because he knows a certain truth which even adults do not know, because he possesses the memory of the glories of heaven. Okay, who yet dost keep thy heritage. So he is still keeping his heritage which he has taken from the heaven, which he has borrowed from heaven. Okay, so he's still carrying that heritage, that heavenly beauty, that heavenly glory, the vision, the divine light. He is still carrying with him. Thou eye among the blind. So he is like a person who can see the deeper truths. Okay, and all adults are blind before him, that deaf and silent readest the eternal deep. So this child is deaf and silent because he's not aware of the ways of the world, is not aware of the misery and the struggle and the suffering of this world, and he is enjoying the deep eternal heavenly beauty. Okay, in his eternal mind. Okay, because he's still carrying the heavenly glory in his mind, so he is in that blessed situation. He is blessed because he has this heavenly glory with him and is not affected by the ways of the world. So in this state he is blessed. So we'll continue in the next audio lecture.